Welcome to the Happy Black Woman Podcast, where we're on a mission to empower women to transform their lives through personal development and entrepreneurship. We bring you all the information, inspiration, and motivation you need to create a life of happiness, success, and freedom. Now, please welcome your host, the happy Black woman herself, Rosetta Thurman.
Hello and welcome back to the Happy Black Woman Podcast. This is Rosetta, and I am here with one of our most beloved members of our Happy Black Woman tribe, Miss, you know her as Afrobella, but her real name is Patrice Grell Yursik, and I am delighted to bring her on the show for our special interview series featuring 29 Black women entrepreneurs, because she is one of the first women that I found online blogging about beauty, no less. And so you probably have heard of her. If not, you're going to want to read her bio that we have posted on the website. Check out her website that's listed there. But for now, we're just going to jump in the conversation and welcome Patrice.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. I know that some people, they don't know your real name, so it's great to say.
That is okay. That is okay. Call me whatever you want. You know what I mean? I'm very comfortable. And I'm very used to people addressing me as Afrobella or Bella or whatever they want.
Well, now they know. Now they know. So excited to have you here. And I was just mentioning before we started recording of how blessed I feel to be able to have a platform where I can catch up with what people are doing and give people a great interview at the same time. So this is just as much for me as it is for you guys listening, because it's always a pleasure to hear what our fellow Black women entrepreneurs are up to. So for everyone who may not know who you are and who this Afrobella brand is, tell everybody a little bit about your mission and the work that you do.
So I am the creator of Afrobella.com. This year actually will be 10 years that I have been blogging at Afrobella.com. My mission is to empower women like myself to love themselves and to live their best lives and to embrace beauty on their own terms. And I do that by writing and by sharing my life. I share my best advice. I share beauty product reviews. I share healthy recipes. I share interviews with experts that inspire and uplift. So that's what I do. That is my mission. That is my work.
Wow, 10 years. Does it feel that like it's been that long?
You know, it does.
She said it does.
It was like a decade. No, but it does feel like 10 years because it's so fascinating. 10 years in a traditional workplace, a corporate job maybe can feel like the blink of an eye. You know, it might feel like you're kind of treading water almost. But in the blogosphere, in the online space, 10 years has been a real evolution. Mm-hmm. Like it really, so much has changed from 2006 when I started my blog to now. It really, it's incredible. So I'm able to chart my years by how much things have changed. So yes, it does feel like 10 years.
That's a great point. I mean, it's so true that you can see so clearly, you're so close to the developments in your industry as a blogger and being part of this social media world that you're in than maybe being in a corporate job. And I know you have an amazing story about that, but I just always want to let people know how I met all my guests. So I was trying to think, how did I first come across you and Afrobella? And I think it was when I first started my blog. I started blogging in 2007, and of course I was out there looking for other people who were blogging. I remember I started following you a while, like not too long after that or before that, and I just thought, wow, what a very cool concept. And I'm not that into beauty, but this is a really cool person who is writing, and she seems really knowledgeable and just as a role model, somebody who was really doing it authentically and had a amazing following, even in the early days when I was following you. And then I think we met briefly in DC at Blogging While Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just thought, well, it was a room full of incredible bloggers. And I just thought, man, this is awesome. Like, I didn't even know there were this many of us. blogging online. And then we got together somehow for a happy hour. We co-hosted a happy hour in
Uh,
2015 in Chicago. And
great.
I got to see your beautiful city of Chicago and bring many of our happy Black women in person to have an intimate evening with us. And it was a highlight of that year for me to be with you and to have us. I know we had some great drinks. People were
Yes.
feeling it the next day.
Oh, yeah. The Violet Hour. That was the place that we had it. It was such a great
Yes.
venue.
Yes.
I loved being part of your event. It was truly special. And what is so remarkable about what you do and the platform that you have is the community that you created, even that evening, has still kept in touch and still supports each other. And it's really, you spread love in a very meaningful way. So thank you for what you do. And thank you for including me in that event. I was really honored to be part of it.
Thank you. I mean, it's amazing how many people resonate with the brand of Happy Black Woman just like they do with Afrobella. Like just the name of what you do and what I do kind of resonate with people, and to know that you are the face of that. You when people meet you, it's like it's Afrobella, and they talk to you and it's like, no, it's really this is Afrobella. Like she is
Yep.
the brand and she
Yep.
is that person that she is on the blog. So tell us, how did Afrobella come about? Like you weren't always a blogger. So tell us, what made you decide to build this brand into an actual business and end up leaving your job?
Okay, well, my background was in writing. It always was in writing. I can go back as far as my educational background. I did script writing, I did creative writing. I have a master's degree in creative writing fiction. I went from there to working with a leading independent bookstore in Miami. Then I started working for the newspaper. I worked for the Miami New Times, and I was their assistant calendar editor for several years. I think I was there for about 5 or 6 years. And then over time, I became calendar editor. But in the midst of that, my job it was challenging, it was entertaining, it was fun, it was dynamic, and it made me have to write like crazy. So all I had to do was write and interview people and all kinds of different people. And I had to really learn that I can write anything. I can write anything. I can interview anybody. I can talk to anybody, and I can meet deadlines. So I learned a lot from that job. And in that time, I also realized that my interests were not coming into my line of work as much as I wanted them to. I really saw a void in the media, and the void was shaped like me. So that means Black, loving the skin that I'm in, natural hair, loving my natural hair, wanting to take care of my natural hair, plus sized and stylish, and just seeking positive information instead of negativity and sarcasm, and darkness,
Yeah.
I'm a light person, and that's something I always was seeking. So at the time, I needed an outlet to be able to share information that I wanted to see. And it was a very whimsical beginning. One of my best friends, I'm still really good friends with him to this day. He used to buy all these domain names online and kind of pimp the internet. And, and he's still doing that. He's got hundreds of domain names. That's his thing. But he came over and he was like, Patrice, you actually write, like you do this for a living. You should probably think about getting a domain name and having some kind of online something. And I was like, I'm working all day. I don't have time for that. And he was like, no, I mean, think about it. And then it was just like, what would your blog be? I can see it so clearly right now. Like he was sitting in front of the computer when he was asking me all of these questions. And I was into reading blogs at the time, but there was nothing for me, and there was no continual celebration of Black beauty that I could find, and Black beauty that was inclusive of my kind of beauty. So that was it. We tossed around names. We came up with a concept. I said Bella. I knew that I wanted the word Bella to be in there because that means beautiful in languages that people can understand beyond English. I actually first came up with Coco Bella, which then was a question of how do you spell it, and then we looked it up, and it's a chocolate company. So there's that. So there's that. And my husband Steve was the one who looked at me and said Afrobella, and that was it. We bought the domain. That was, I think it was August 13th, 2006. And that was it. So I really didn't know at the time I was starting a business when I started a business. It was a very whimsical beginning. It was about self-expression. It was about passion and a passion project and something that I really cared about and wanted to see in the world. So I guess that quote, be the change you want to see in the world, that was really how it started for me. And over time, I realized I had in fact started a business. So I hope I answered that question.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I mean, I think a lot of women can relate to the idea of your whimsical beginnings and not really knowing, where is this thing headed? It's just a site. It just started as a site. And it's the same story for Happy Black Woman. It started as a personal blog. I already had a business at the time, actually, and it was just supposed to be my outlet to share what was going on with me in my life. And it was originally called Diary of a Happy Black Woman. And it grew into something much more, much, much more. And it sounds like it was the same for you. And, you ended up quitting your job and being able to do this. So just to give people a little context, because people are always so curious to know, like, how could this work for them? Or maybe they're thinking it's taking too long and what. So I'm always asking people, like, what did your journey look like? So how long were you doing Afrobella when you realized that this is going to be something that replaces your income, or like, what was that trajectory like for you?
Well, the whole question of income was something that really didn't come up for me until I quit my job. So I started Afrobella in 2006. I stayed at my job for an additional 3 years. So I didn't leave my job until 2009. I left my job because the blog had become so big and was leading me in directions away from the cubicle. My choices were either follow this trajectory outside of this cubicle or stay here where there's health insurance and security and you kind of know what your salary is going to be every year, or take a chance and totally not have any idea how much money you're going to make in a year and just have to do the best that you can. These are things that when I start talking about this, I always wonder if my former editor is listening. It's been so long, but I just always wonder, I'm like, will you hear this? But I wanted to quit my job for so much longer before I was actually able to quit my job. I really did. I dreamed of being able to be a full-time blogger or to just freelance for other publications, because when you work for a newspaper, there's no dream of that. It's just you just slog away and you turn in your copy every week, and it is what it is. You meet your deadlines and you're not encouraged to build bylines with other publications because you have a job, right? So it was something I would always look at other people doing and be like, oh, I want to write for Rolling Stone, or I want to write for, whatever, insert publication here. But I wasn't able to do that because of my job. Yeah. So, I mean, I worked for that time. And then when I finally quit, it was because my husband and I had a real heart to heart. Like, I can't do this anymore. It was really because of the inauguration of Barack Obama. I was invited to events as Afrobella, and my boss told me I couldn't go. And that was heartbreaking, but it was the kick that I needed to be like, okay, I have to make this work. And that led to a whole kind of a domino effect in our lives. So I quit my job in February 2009. My husband quit his job in March of 2009, which was a shocker. We didn't plan on that.
Wow.
He was like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I can't do it anymore either. And I was like, right, what are we going to do? And he said, let's go on a 20-day road trip to just do that, because we're never going to have this kind of vacation time again. Mm-hmm. And let's move in with my parents in Chicago. And that's what we did. We packed up our stuff. It's so crazy when I look back at it. I'm like, we didn't really have, we knew we had our savings. We had hit the number of savings we needed to make it through, let's say, the next 6 months. But we had to move in with the in-laws for a little bit, and that's as real as it gets. So I hope that people who listen to this know it's not easy building the road to your dreams. You have to make sacrifices sometimes that you don't want to make, and always keep your eye on the prize, because like once you're able to have that vision, you know that better things are coming. Right. I'm sorry for the background noise. I live in downtown Chicago.
I know, that's the city for you.
For you, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was it. When I quit my job, I realized that I thought I was going to have to find a new job. And I started going out on interviews here in Chicago. And it was a pretty scary and disappointing landscape. If you look back at 2009, it wasn't a great time for newspapers. I don't know if it is a great time for newspapers now. It just really was a really bad time then. It was very dire. So I went on a lot of different interviews, and I was turned down by a lot of different publications that are here. And then I realized that I just had to make it work. I have to freelance. So I took it online instead of looking for the traditional desk job with the insurance and the security. I said, I'm going to have to start freelancing as hard as I can. And I started writing. AOL Black Voices called on me to start writing some hair articles. And then they said, we want to give you a column. And I started writing for them. And that's really where it began. So that's where I realized this is what it's going to be. I'm just going to keep going forward from here.
I love that you shared your journey that way and really looking at the fact that it wasn't a very clear cut plan that was linear and you were going to do this and your husband knew his role in the whole thing, and it wasn't that way. And to hear how it all started and now where you are is really inspiring to see you stepped out on your desires and you did what you had to do, and it turned into all these opportunities that we've seen you have. So well, there's so many places we can go with that, but I want to know, for you, your work is in a very unique niche in the sense that you can do a lot in beauty. There's a lot of businesses you can have. Yours is primarily writing. I know you host a lot of events and you're more of a personality, and it's really tough for people to get paid in that particular space for that. So I'm curious, I'm thinking of our listeners and what their next question might be is like, what would you tell someone who is wanting to be a professional blogger, media personality, as you have become, freelance writer, all the things that you're able to do? Like, what are some specific steps that you could tell them to take, like things that you did, take every job or be selective, or what would you tell them in terms of being able to monetize their passion in that way? Because it's a tough road right now for bloggers because there's so many of them.
It's tough, it's competitive, and the landscape has changed. And I really have to say, I think a lot of my opportunity comes from being able to be first, but also be first and be best. You can be first and be forgotten, So what I always say to people is my career, my job is a perpetual act in rising to the occasion. So I didn't seek to be a media personality. I love hearing you describe me as that, because that's not at all. I don't have media training. I don't, I don't feel comfortable on camera particularly. It's something that I keep getting asked to do. And I think that that's something that I can give as a takeaway. If you are a person who is continually being asked to do certain things, there is a reason that you're being asked to do those things.
Yes.
Right? And you may not even want to do them, but somebody is seeing it in you. The people are looking at you and projecting that skill, and you have it. So let it shine. And just all you can do is your best. In the moment that you are afraid to do something, you just have to remind yourself that you were chosen to do that for a reason. And whether that reason is to inspire somebody else to be like, oh my gosh, if she can do this, I can do this too. That's okay. The main thing is to just believe in your own abilities and understand that sometimes you are placed somewhere for a reason outside of yourself. So that's one thing. Specific action steps for moving forward into being what I am and doing what I do. Or starting from a writing perspective, I really believe, print is not dead at all. Print validates you in a lot of ways. There are still a lot of people who believe if you're in print, then you are a real writer and a real journalist. Yeah. But I will say that you build your resume online and you build your reputation online. And people are looking for people to give opportunities actively online. So just by writing and building your own personal site, your blog, and then by contributing to outlets that you respect and admire, you can brand yourself as an expert even without having a background in a particular field. I don't have a beauty related background. I have a love and a deep interest in beauty and an abiding passion and curiosity that goes back to my childhood. But I never once went to esthetician school or makeup school or learned how to do hair or anything. This is all just from me loving beauty and wanting to make beauty something that was accessible to everybody, including people like myself who don't have that kind of background. And from being that every person, that's what made me the expert. Isn't that kind of crazy?
It is.
Right? So I think that that's a key part of advice that I can give to somebody who wants to do something actionable. Let's say you want to become somebody who has a cookbook or has a series of cookbooks. You don't have to necessarily, at this stage of life that we're in with the internet, you don't have to go to Le Cordon Bleu, and you don't have to be a trained chef who worked under the best chefs in the country. You can be an at-home mom who masters a specific kind of recipe, who then becomes a niche expert, who then becomes a cookbook superstar, right? So identifying your passion is the first thing, and then identifying an area in which you can become an expert is the second thing. Just believing in yourself and being genuine and putting yourself out there to receive the opportunities that will come to you from building yourself that platform to be an expert. I think that's where it all comes from.
I love those tips, and really looking at that piece around, am I an expert? Or the question that we get a lot in our Happy Black Woman community is, am I expert enough? Do I have enough degrees and letters behind my name? And it's such a hurdle for many women to get over, in that they look around and see everyone else who seems more accomplished than they are. Right. And, they may be thinking, well, I'm not Afrobella. Well, you just heard. She doesn't have any degrees in beauty. So
no, I don't. And that's the other thing. I think it's important to recognize and almost embrace that you don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. And what defines an expert? Yes, of course, having degrees and things, letters behind your name, of course, does brand you as an expert. But what I do is I interview people like that.
Yes.
And I share my platform with them because they know more than I do in that particular area, So I think that it's important to recognize that you're not going to be a one-woman island, and you can, in fact, build a platform that celebrates and recognizes different experts in different fields.
Yes, I love that you mentioned that you can be the one who gathers all the experts, and now you're the curator of that knowledge for your community or your tribe that you're supporting. So awesome tips. And, I'm always curious, or nosy, some might say, about what are some of the things that make you so successful. So I know that we're so hard on ourselves as leaders, like, I could always be doing more. But from the outside, of course, you produce a lot. You produce a lot of articles, not just on your own site, but for other sites, on your social media. You're making appearances at events, and you have a home life with your husband. And I know you like to spend time with your family too. So what does a typical day look like for you, and what are some of the strategies that you incorporate personally that keep you focused and productive?
A typical day for me begins around 6:30. That's when my husband's alarm goes off. So
his alarm, not yours, right?
I don't need an alarm. We're sleeping right next to each other. We got one alarm. So it wakes him up, and he gets up and he goes and takes a shower. I lay there. The cat kind of comes and greets me and tells me he's hungry. I get up and I feed him. I try to begin with kind of a morning meditation that affirms what I'm going to do with my day and sets the tone with how I'm going to go about what I do for the day. Sometimes in that time, I try to keep a 9 to 5. That's another thing. When you work for yourself, you can work 24 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
So I try to really say, okay, I'm not officially sitting at my desk, and I have a home office that I'm in right now, and a desk that I sit at. Because another thing that was happening was I was just sitting with my laptop in bed sometimes. That, you know what I mean? You have to kind of be a little regimented with yourself when you work from home. So you get up, you get dressed, you put on something that you can greet people in, and then you come into your office and you have your 9 to 5. So before I start work, that's usually my time to like I was saying, meditate. I try to work out with a friend a couple of days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're trying to do that. We try to do that in that morning period. Sometimes I talk to my parents, because that's something that really helps to center me and ground me as well, and remind me of my roots, So I enjoy speaking to them in the morning when we're all waking up. And sometimes I have a cup of tea with my mom. My mom is 76 years old. So it's beautiful to be able to see each other, and share that. And then I get down to work. And when I get down to work, the first thing I do is I have a whole bunch of apps and list making productivity tools that I use. So I use Wunderlist. Right? You're familiar with Wunderlist, I'm guessing?
I have not heard of it.
Okay, so WUNDER list. I like it because it's a list making app, but there's just something about it that just is intensely satisfying. I'm opening it up right now, for example.
This is on your phone.
Yes, this is on my phone. Let me turn it up so you can hear it. When you do something, did you hear that?
Nice.
The best, exactly. I just checked off one of my things to do, and I love that noise. It's like, yes, I did that. So that helps me stay productive and stay focused. I use Evernote a lot. Evernote is, if you're not familiar with Evernote, it's an app that you can use on your phone or on your desktop or your laptop or whatever to write notes of different kinds. You can write lists. So I have an ongoing list of things that I'm going to buy next in Evernote. I have a list of places I dream of visiting. I have a list of blog posts that I'm working on. And those things are kind of always at the forefront for me. And when I'm on the go, when I'm traveling, I can just, step into a room of beauty products and do a quick list of the things that I'm going to say about them, and then flesh that out through Evernote and just eventually post that. So that's something that helps to keep me productive. Like I said, I tried to keep a 9 to 5. One of the things I was doing a really bad job of when I first started my blog, and working for myself, was not having lunch. I would find myself just working all day and then starving at 3 or 4 p.m.
Yeah.
And making really bad food decisions around that time based on the fact that I haven't been even drinking water and I hadn't been eating. I'd just been sitting in front of a computer. So I really try to intentionally say, okay, it is noon, it is 12:30, it is 1. I am taking a break and I'm walking away from this for right now. And I go and I try to eat something nourishing. And then I really try to just stay focused on whatever that day's assignments might be. So today I had a list of video and social media posts for a brand that I'm partnering with. So that was really the focus that I did. My day started out this morning with a makeup artist coming to my home. We did a video together. Then I went on to do other videos for the rest of the afternoon and social media posts. Also, a lot of it has become a business. So I'm receiving contracts. I'm having to read contracts and get those back. It's also tax time. So this week has been a little stressful managing everything. But my main thing is I have that 9 to 5. I check off the stuff on my list. And whatever I did not get done today will get done tomorrow, as long as I hit my priorities and I know what those were.
Yeah. No, this is fantastic to hear different management tools. Everybody does things differently. So it's always fun to hear, like, what are you guys doing? So I just went on my phone and downloaded the Wunderlist because I have never heard of that one. So we're going to add this link to our show notes too, ladies. So if you missed it, you can rewind or you can just go to our show notes page. But it's always interesting, like how people manage and the different things that you have to manage. So you kind of, you've got your content, you've got your business stuff, you've got your finance stuff, and of course you've got your family time too. So is there a certain way that you manage that time? Like, is there a certain, you guys have date night with your hubby, or like, how do you make sure that gets in?
Absolutely. My work day begins after he's gone. So he leaves in the morning, we kiss each other goodbye, he goes off to work, I settle down. We usually wind up chatting on the phone around lunchtime, just, to say hi and catch up and make sure we're okay. And then when he comes home from work, when my husband comes home, usually it's like, let's say 5:30, 5:45, around that time, I have fulfilled my work day. I've done my work, so I can step away from the computer. Sometimes I bring the laptop out into the living room and finish up the last things that I got to do. But that's our time to kind of get together and decompress and talk about each other's day and get to know, what happened behind the scenes that we weren't able to download earlier, Both of us are complete news fiends, so we wind up watching the news at that time and talking about politics and all that stuff honestly I try to avoid online because it can be so argumentative. It's better to just, watch it and digest it on your own time. Right. We love cooking dinner together, and that's something that, is a nice couple thing to do. And we do have date night. Date night is usually, I would say, let's say Saturdays is like a date day into evening. And sometimes it's just us. Sometimes it's a group of friends. This weekend, we're going to meet up with some friends in the suburbs. It's important to prioritize that because there's many evenings, though, that we wind up, he's on his computer and working, and I'm on my computer and working, and he works really hard, too. So sometimes we're up on our computers working until 2 a.m. together, silently, and it's good to be able to have that as well. And have somebody who understands what it is to be busy and what it is to have a job that consumes you and that you're passionate about.
Very cool. Oh, I love it. I know that people got some good ideas from just hearing about your day. We could go so much deeper, but I know our time is coming to an end, so I want to head into our inspiration round and ask you, as I ask everyone, what makes you a happy Black woman? What makes Patrice happy?
Spreading love makes me happy. Just kind of, I feel like that's my purpose, to spread beauty and to spread love. So that's something that truly makes me happy. Do you mean in terms of an actual practice, something I like to do?
Yeah, anything that you can, just what comes to mind. I know that I have a growing list, ever growing list. When I eat something new that I like, I'm like, you know what, this makes me really happy. I like this type of ice cream, and I add it to my list.
You said ice cream. Okay, I was gonna say, I love food. I do love food. I really also lately have been enjoying the act of cooking and coming up with a recipe and making something that I'm delicious and that I think is delicious and that I'm proud of, and that is healthy. So that's something that makes me happy lately. I do love delicious and decadent things, but I find lately I really have been thinking more and more and more about food as nutrition. So what makes me happy is eating something that I know the old me would have not liked, that I now am like, I made this taste good, and now Brussels sprouts are my friend.
I love that. You shared cooking because a lot of ladies, they either love it or they hate it. But for me, it's more of a creative outlet. It's like I have my business and I get to be creative there, but it's a different kind of creative, with certain parameters. But in the kitchen, it's like, oh, let's do this. I made this lamb dish recently and it has cinnamon and walnuts. And I'm like, what is this? But you put it all together and it's this beautiful creation that you never would have thought of.
That sounds so good. That sounds like a Moroccan, like a tagine type dish. That sounds really good. I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, I love experimenting with different flavors. I mean, I'm a Caribbean woman, so I love my Caribbean recipes and rice and peas and my, I've been making a lot of cabbage lately, like the classic Jamaican, Trini cabbage and carrot side dish, that kind of thing. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I do like experimenting with different flavors. So when you mentioned that lamb dish, I'm like, I like making Indian food. I like making, different Asian foods, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. I just like learning about different cultures. Things that make me happy. You know what? I don't work out enough, but the feeling of accomplishment I get after a good workout is really hard to deny.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm trying to get more of in my life. I was at a place where I was working out with a personal trainer and she was really pushing me. And there were times that I was so mad at her. But she moved away and I haven't worked out with her in a while. And I realized, I was like, I miss that. I miss somebody making me do burpees until I hated them. So, so I kind of think I need to get back to some of that. What else makes me happy? Spending time with my husband, being at home with my husband and my cat when it's snowing outside is very peaceful and cozy and loving, and we enjoy that. Going home to see my family in Trinidad is something that's very important to me and that makes me very happy. I love journaling. I love making lists.
Clearly,
I
yes.
know, I'm such a dork. Lists make me feel like I did something, so I like making lists.
Totally. I
Yeah,
love it. Yeah.
so
Well,
those are things that make me happy.
so, of course, I was going to ask, I was hoping you'd mention this. I was like, oh, she's going to lead right into my next question, which I was going to ask about your reading habits and if there's any favorite book that you've come across or that you end up rereading over and over that's inspired you in your journey.
There's 3 books that I'm sitting next to right now that are on my desk. One is Stephen King on writing, which is a really good book. I will say I grew up reading a lot of Stephen King and seeing all of his scary, scary movies, but he gives some really solid advice in this book. The amount of material that man has been able to produce, the
Oh, yeah.
productivity of Stephen King alone is something that I find incredibly inspiring. So that book is actually on my desk as a reminder of what you can do if you really put your mind to it. The next book that is right here is Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements, which I know a lot of people know and love and truly, truly resonates with me and has taught me about life and has taught me about myself and helps me navigate personal relationships in a way that I wish I had mastered in high school. And then the third one is by a friend of mine. His name is Pierre Benoit. He is the co-creator of Oyen Handmade hair products and body products. And the book is called, is cursing allowed on your show, Rosetta?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. The book is called Bullshit or Fertilizer.
Okay.
And it's
Nice.
really cute, small little book, tough love for artists on the fence. It's just like this little volume. It's a tiny little book, but it just has so much positive affirmation and so many reminders that help you center yourself when you feel lost. So I just opened it right now as I'm talking to you, and it says, Dear artist, you're a divine being sent to earth to save the world. First, you must realize that you are the bomb. Your mission is to help the rest of the world figure it out. But before you can do that, you have to claim it for yourself. That's the kind of thing that reminds me, I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I can do this. I can do this. So those are 3 books that are right here on my desk with me that came immediately to mind as I need to share this with an audience.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So she not only gave us 1, but 3 book recommendations. So we're going to add those to our Happy Black Woman book list. And those links are going to be in our show notes, ladies, so you can click and get them. And of course, before we go, I want to ask you, my final question. If you knew then what you know now, thinking about many of the women listening who are just at the beginning stages of their business, really thinking about starting a business doing what they love, and they hear other people saying it, but they're not sure if it's really true or if they can do it. What's your number 1 piece of advice that you would give her as she starts to move forward?
I mean, the first thing I would say is if I could do it, anybody can do it, because I really am like, I do not have this background. I didn't know I was starting a business. I'm figuring it out as I go along, and it's been 10 years and I'm doing pretty well. And I really think with the right support around you and people who believe in you, you can do anything. But there's a lot of people who don't have that, and that's a real struggle. There's a lot of people who will share their dreams with their loved ones or their families and have people be like, girl, you tripping, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And people, there are dream killers around you that you have to try to navigate your way around. I guess the best advice I would give is really be realistic with yourself and be sensible. Do research. If you have an idea for something and the weird little things that make you quirky and the interests that you've had your whole life, they might be the thing that will lead you to create a business that could be so profitable you have no idea, because it comes from a place of pure passion and love. And that's what sustains you regardless of the whims of business. Once you really love what you're doing and you're creating something that you're passionate about and that resonates with you and with other people, then the sky is the limit. But I will say, know your landscape, know your business, and try to embrace a spirit of community instead of a spirit of competition.
Yes.
I think it's really important to not, and I see this a lot in blogging and social media and in being an online influencer and that kind of thing. There is enough pie for everybody and we can all shine. And it's really important to recognize that there's a bigger community. And by embracing that community and loving that community and being part of that community, great things can come from that. And if you make yourself a person who, only sees negative and tends to stand away from the community and not embrace it, then when opportunities come, people are not going to necessarily think of you or try to share them with you.
Right.
So, just joining it and embracing it and loving it and being, holding your integrity high and prizing your originality, I think that it can really take you far in business and in life.
Awesome. Wow, such great advice from 10 years at Afrobella.com. I know that you definitely have the experience that has taught you, bringing to us to learn from you. So thank you for everything that you've shared with us today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being a happy Black woman and for creating a community of happy Black women that I am happy to be part of as well. So awesome. Thank you, Rosetta.
Yes, I love it. Well, you know what? I know that we don't want to leave our listeners hanging. Where can they go to stay in touch with you, learn more about your work?
Yes, I am available on every social media platform, so you can find me at Afrobella on Instagram, at Afrobella on Twitter, at Afrobella on Pinterest, and at Facebook.com/Afrobella blog. Let's see. And then my website is Afrobella.com. So just visit me there and read what I'm doing and what I'm sharing.
Yeah, Afrobella.com. You can always get updated. Patrice does a lot of events, and so if you want to meet her, you want to invite your friends out, especially if you're in Chicago, there are always a ton of events that are really, really cool that you can get invited to. Just really stay close to what she's doing, and you'll probably get to meet some of our happy Black women if you do so. So thank you so much again for sharing with us. And for everyone who is listening, if you have not listened to the previous episodes of all of our incredible Black women entrepreneurs this month, you are missing out. Patrice is only one of our experts that have been sharing so freely and generously this month with you. So go back, listen to the previous episodes. Please, I would love if you go to iTunes, give us a rating and a review so that other Black women can find this podcast, because there's really nothing like this on iTunes right now. So thank you for listening. I hope to see you in the next episode. In the meantime, have an amazing, beautiful day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Happy Black Woman podcast. If you want all the show's notes from today's episode, go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com. Plus, we'll send you a copy of Rosetta's free life mapping workbook. We look forward to empowering you next time. And until then, do something this week that makes you happy.